Hello, everybody. Welcome tonight as you find us here on Facebook Live. I'm Julie Flygar. I am the president and CEO of Project Sleep, and I am in Los Angeles, California. And we have a very special guest with us. Hi, Diana.
Hi, Julie. How are you?
Good. Where are you joining us from?
I am from Knoxville, Tennessee.
Awesome. All right, guys. So as you join tonight, please share where you are tuning in from so we can see. It's always really fun afterward. Diana won't be able to see your comments during the broadcast, but afterwards to go back and see all the different places from across the country and often internationally that people are tuning in from. I'll just go over a few quick reminders before Diana starts her amazing presentation with you. These videos are for education and awareness purposes. So if anything in Diana's story tonight gives you any questions about your own experience or the experience of a loved one with a sleep disorder, please bring those to a sleep specialist. And please comment when Diana says something that that resonates with your experience, or do the little heart button or the like button. All that engagement is really important and helps the video get better traction and reach more people. And if you can share the video onto your Facebook page so more people can learn about narcolepsy, that would be really awesome as well. And let's see. What else? Oh, just remember too, as you are commenting, that the comments are public. They stay with the video. So you wouldn't want to share anything in the comments that you wouldn't want to share publicly. And this video will be recorded and available afterwards, and we'll have it on YouTube and all that. So, and let's see. For Project Sleep updates today, gosh, time just flies. I don't know where the time goes. But we just finished training our 5th group of Rising Voices of Narcolepsy speakers this summer. So we're really, really excited. Pretty soon you'll be getting to hear some of our new graduates share their story. And Diana, you did this last summer? Was it just last summer?
It was.
Wow. Okay. Yes. I don't know where the time goes, but let's see what else. We are going to be doing a cool broadcast on Wednesday about navigating school with narcolepsy. So please tune in for that. We have 2 great panelists, Danielle and Kenya will be sharing some of their experience with high school, college, and graduate school, navigating accommodations and all that with narcolepsy. So that we're really excited for that new Nerd Alert broadcast on Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern. And then just lastly, next week, we're going to have a broadcast. I think it's Friday, August 6th. So it's still a little bit of ways away, but on advocacy. We're going to do an advocacy webinar to help prepare people for advocating in August and September. So we're really excited to give you an update from Washington, D.C., what's happening, and then talk about opportunities to get involved in advocacy. So with that, I can't think of anything else. Oh, it's just less than 2 months until World Narcolepsy Day. We could mention that, September 22nd. So we're gearing up slowly but surely. And the next month, we'll have exciting announcements about some t-shirts and some new fun online activities and stuff like that. So definitely stay tuned for some of those announcements as well. But with that, I think, Diana, if you're ready to get started, you guys are in for a real treat tonight. I'll go ahead and read your bio, Diana, if you want to pull up your slides.
Okay.
All right. So let's see. Give me 1 second. Zoom. Okay. Diana Anderson is a physician assistant and assistant professor in Knoxville, Tennessee. She was diagnosed with narcolepsy when she was 34 and is now working to raise awareness of this neurological disorder. As a speaker with Project Sleep's Rising Voices of Narcolepsy program, she hopes to help others who may be undiagnosed or misdiagnosed with an impaired quality of life. So with that, please take it away, Diana.
Okay. Thank you, Julie. All right. Well, as you know, my name is Diana, and I was born a New Yorker. My parents raised my younger brother and I in the small town of Holbrook on Long Island. And tap dancing became a major part of my life at the age of 2.5, thanks to my mom and dad. I pretty much tap danced everywhere I went. I can still hear my mom yelling down the hallway of that house in the picture in the background there. I would be practicing my tap moves in the kitchen on the linoleum floor. And my mom would be like, "You're scratching up the floor, stop it." Uh, that picture there on the slide is me on the right-hand side and my best friend from childhood, Brooke, and we are in our stunning Madonna recital costumes. We had recitals every year for tap. Tap dancing was not the only aspiration that I had at a young age. In elementary school, my parents would get calls almost on a weekly basis from the school nurse. And they would call, and my mom would say, "Well, what's going on? You know, is Diana sick?" And the nurse would say, "Well, no, she's just sitting. She wanted to come hang out in our office and see how we take care of the other kids if they get hurt or are sick. And she just really likes to learn what we do here." So my parents kind of got a hint at a young age that I had a very big interest in medicine. Fast forward through high school and college, where I worked really hard academically, and we'll find that my dream of practicing medicine was starting to finally come true at the age of 24. Well, what happened to the tap dancing dream, you say? Well, it just so happens that the Rockettes have a height restriction, and I'm not really known for being the tallest girl at the party, so we'll just say that. Anyway, I was 24 and I got accepted into PA school, a physician assistant school, and I absolutely loved everything about it. It was a 8 to 5 job, basically Monday through Friday of learning and studying, and then studying on the nights and weekends. I absolutely loved it, but I didn't love how tired I thought it made me. So in PA school one day, I was in lecture hall, and next thing I knew, I was being woken up by my best friend who was nudging my side and saying, "Hey, Diana, you got to wake up. This stuff is on our final exam. What are you doing sleeping?" And I had just fallen asleep in the middle of lecture, and she was there to kind of wake me up. That picture on the left-hand side of this slide here is me with my very blonde hair, laying down on the table down for the count, just in the middle of the lecture hall. In the weeks to follow this, I found that I was having to go home during lunch break. So we would have morning lecture, and then during lunch, I would go home and I would sleep for that hour or that 45 minutes that I had, because I felt like it regenerated me and I was able to focus a little bit more in the afternoon without my eyelids wanting to close over my eyes. If we went out on a Friday night, if we didn't have exams on Monday and all the girls and guys were getting together to go out to dinner or go out to dancing, I would have to leave school at 5 o'clock, go home and sleep for 3 hours before I could make it out to dinner. Otherwise, I wouldn't make it past 10 p.m. So this was something new that I was experiencing. And I just thought that PA school was honestly frying my brain. I was like, man, this is really exhausting on me. Like, I'm having to sleep more than I ever had. Despite my urge to sleep and take really good naps, I graduated PA school at the age of 26. I accepted a full-time job, my first full-time job as an orthopedic surgery physician assistant, and things were going pretty well professionally for me at this point. When I turned 28, I even met a cute guy that I wanted to date. We had went on a few dates and things became official. One weekend, he asked me if I wanted to meet his parents and drive a couple of hours away with him for the weekend to stay at their house. So I was really interested in this guy. So I said, of course, yeah, that would be great. So we get to their lake house and it's a hot July summer day. We were playing water sports all day, wakeboarding, fishing. We were grilling out on their patio. And we had just finished a big carbohydrate heavy lunch. And we were sitting on the patio and they were asking me questions. I was getting to know his parents. And I just suddenly felt my eyelids start to close. And I was truly interested in what they wanted to, or what they were saying to me. I wanted to make a really good impression, but I couldn't fight this feeling that was coming over me. To the point where I got up and I had to excuse myself from the table and ask if I could lay down in one of their guest rooms. So I go inside their house, and a couple of hours later, my boyfriend comes in and says, is my family that boring to you that you would rather sleep in here by yourself than meet them and get to know them? And at that time, I got really mad at myself and sad. I thought, man, this was a guy that I could potentially see myself with for the rest of my life. And here I am just sleeping in a guest room in his parents' house. I was embarrassed. And so that picture on the right-hand side of the slide is a guest bedroom. And that reminded me of that incident that occurred. About a month after that embarrassing production, I was sleeping in my room and was awakened in the middle of the night by this strange spirit figure that floated into my room. It didn't have a distinct outline, but I could just see this black structure with long hair just coming towards my bed. And I tried to scream. But my mouth wouldn't open. So it was like I was screaming with my mouth closed. And it was one of the most frightening things that I've ever experienced. It tried to crawl onto the bed and grab at my legs, and I couldn't move. My legs felt like they were 1,000,000 pounds. And I'm sitting there screaming with my mouth closed for what seemed to be, like 30 minutes. When I finally came to, I realized it had only probably been a few minutes. I rolled over and I asked my boyfriend, I said, why didn't you help me? I was screaming and couldn't get the words out of my mouth and I was trying to move. Like, why didn't you help me? And he looked at me and said, what are you talking about? You were sleeping. We were both sound asleep. And so at that point, I kind of said, I never had a dream like that before. I've had nightmares, but nothing like this. When I turned 34, I took a trip to a medical conference with my best friend from PA school. We had both found a conference that we were interested in the topic, and it was a good opportunity for us to reunite and see each other. So we both took a jump at the opportunity. When we got there, we got all dolled up to go out for dinner and drinks and to go dancing. And that was the first night. On the second day, I'm in the conference and it was a topic I was very interested in. But once again, I couldn't keep my eyes open. And there's the picture on the left-hand side there of me. I developed this good kind of skill to be able to actually sleep while holding my head in my hand without it falling down. That the next night when we went to go out to dinner and go out and have drinks and go out dancing, it was 10 p.m. after dinner and it's like a light switch went off in my head. I looked at my friend Katie and I said, Katie, I'm sorry, but I can't make it out. I have to go to bed. I absolutely cannot. And I felt terrible because I hadn't seen her in a couple of years and, I really missed her and wanted to catch up more. And she just looked at me at that point and said, Diana, this isn't normal, right? This is way worse than it was when we were in school. At that moment, I was thinking in my head, man, I was being told this by someone who not only was a medical professional, but also someone who knew me and actually cared about me. So I decided to take her advice. That picture on the right-hand side of the slide there, that's me and my best friend, Katie. That is not the night that we went out, unfortunately. That was earlier at the start of PA school when I had the energy and ability to stay out and hang out with my friend. So about a week after I got back from the conference, I went ahead and scheduled a consultation with a sleep specialist. When I got there, the doctor asked me to tell them about my symptoms. They performed a physical exam and recommended that I undergo a sleep study for further evaluation. I really wasn't nervous about having a sleep study performed. I was pretty familiar with them from learning about them in sleep medicine and PA school. The study was done at an outpatient facility, and it looked just like a hotel room. They hooked up some monitors to assess my breathing, and then they also hooked up a bunch of little electrodes on my head to look at my brain waves during my sleep. And it wasn't painful at all to me. And my only job during the study was to go to sleep, which was very easy for me. The next morning, for the nighttime sleep, the next morning following the nighttime sleep study, I had another type of sleep study performed, which basically required me to take 5 naps throughout the day. So once again, cakewalk for me. This was a very nice day of relaxation for me, I guess you could say. When I went to follow up with my doctor so he could give me the results when I showed up to their office, I wasn't nervous. The doctor came in the room. I don't really know what I was expecting, but the doctor came in the room and sat down on the stool in front of me, and he looks at me and he just goes, "Well, that explains it. You got narcolepsy." When he said that, I was literally in shock. I wasn't expecting that diagnosis at all. All through life, you hear about people being tired all the time, right? Everybody's always in a go, go, go mood. Everybody's, trying to be efficient. And they just say that they're tired a lot. That's kind of the norm that casual conversation. How are you? Oh, I'm tired. How are you? Oh, I'm tired too. I just figured I was weaker than most people and just couldn't hang. I couldn't even think of all the times I would beat myself up mentally because I thought I should be able to get through a normal day without napping. So anyway, the doctor tells me this, and the first thing out of my mouth is, "Wait, so this isn't normal what I'm feeling?" Well, if this isn't normal, then what is normal? So then I started to think in my head, well, man, I want to experience normal. And as I'm looking at the doctor in front of me, I almost started to have jealousy come over me. And I said, I want to feel normal like you. That's not fair. I want to feel that normal. I was 24 years old when my symptoms began, and I was 34 when I was finally diagnosed 10 years later. I had never met anybody with narcolepsy. Of course, I learned about it in PA school. But even in practice, when I was in orthopedic surgery and in other specialties, I never once saw that diagnosis listed on anybody's chart. From PA school, I knew it was chronic. I knew narcolepsy was a chronic condition, but I also just thought that, there's so many medications out there that you can just get prescribed a medication and go about your day and live a normal life. Well, it turns out that narcolepsy is a chronic neurological disorder of the sleep-wake cycle, and it affects about 1 in 2,000 people. And symptoms of narcolepsy include excessive daytime sleepiness, or EDS. And these are periods of extreme sleepiness during the day that are comparable to someone not having narcolepsy staying awake for about 48 to 72 hours at a time. So having to take naps in PA school and sleeping in the guest room at the lake house, those were all examples or symptoms of excessive daytime sleepiness that I was experiencing. Another symptom of narcolepsy is cataplexy. Cataplexy is a sudden episode of muscle weakness, and it's triggered by strong emotions like laughter, surprise, or even anger. And that can be as subtle as a slackening of the jaw to as extreme as a buckling of the knees, causing someone to collapse and fall down. It can last anywhere from a few seconds to a few minutes, and the person remains fully conscious. Even if they can't speak or move, they still know what's going on in their surroundings. I do not experience cataplexy with narcolepsy. The third symptom on this slide is hypnagogic or hypnopompic hallucinations. And these are hallucinations that occur with falling asleep or waking up. So remember that spirit figure in the room that was coming at me in the bed? That was actually a hypnagogic hallucination because it was a hallucination that was happening as I was going into sleep. And the fact that I couldn't move during that experience, my body was paralyzed, I couldn't even open my mouth to talk, that was sleep paralysis. and sleep paralysis is oftentimes combined with these hallucinations. It is important to know that people who don't have narcolepsy, they can have these symptoms, but it's just that those individuals with narcolepsy have a more consistent appearance of symptoms over time. Disrupted nighttime sleep. So unlike the public perceptions of people with narcolepsy that say, narcolepsy people, they don't sleep all the time. Their timing of sleepiness is off. So their sleep-wake cycle is disrupted. Someone may fight sleep during the day and be tired, but then have a hard time sleeping at night. There's two types of narcolepsy. There is narcolepsy with cataplexy, and there's narcolepsy without cataplexy. And you may hear these called narcolepsy type 1 and narcolepsy type 2. I have narcolepsy type 2, and I do not experience the cataplexy. Research has shown that narcolepsy type 1 is due to a lack of hypocretin, which is the main neurotransmitter in the brain that helps us stay alert and regulate our sleep-wake cycles. Less is known about narcolepsy type 2 or narcolepsy without cataplexy. So diagnosis of narcolepsy is through a 24-hour sleep study, a nighttime portion followed by a daytime nap portion that records the brain waves. So when we talked about how I slept at night and then the next day I had to take those series of 5 naps, that was all done within 24 hours. The diagnosis is based on how quickly and how frequently someone goes into REM sleep or rapid eye movement sleep. Treatment of narcolepsy, so there's no cure. Treatment is aimed to help improve quality of life. So it's through supportive measures such as medications. And on this slide, you'll see wake promoting medications and histamine directed or stimulants for daytime sleepiness, nighttime medications that can be used for daytime sleepiness and cataplexy, antidepressants, which can help with cataplexy, and scheduled daytime naps. Some other coping strategies that people with narcolepsy can utilize are social support, such as meetup groups or social media, and improvements in general health through sleep hygiene, diet, fitness. So my treatment regimen is altered frequently. My body tends to get used to one treatment regimen, and so I oftentimes have to have things switched around at the recommendation of my sleep specialist. Approaches I use to help manage my narcolepsy include sleep hygiene. Basically, I have a pretty consistent bedtime routine along with diet regulation. So I try not to eat a lot of heavy carbohydrate filled foods because those tend to make me tired. And also exercise because that tends to help me with a better sleep quality at night. I also have to take daytime and nighttime medication as well to help manage my symptoms so that I can have a better quality day. So my life with narcolepsy. I like to compare my life to narcolepsy with someone trying to plan a trip to a beach in Florida during hurricane season. So you can make all the plans and all the arrangements in the world to get to Florida and have the most perfect beach vacation. But if that hurricane's gonna hit, it's gonna hit. So same goes with narcolepsy for me. I could have the greatest day planned with my family, but when that sleepiness occurs, I can't stop it. I can try to stop it, and when I do try to fight it, it just makes me absolutely miserable. And so, just like a hurricane can make someone's beach vacation miserable. So my life with narcolepsy. So remember the boyfriend from the lake house that, I ended up basically falling asleep while his parents were talking to me? Well, he's now my husband. And he's been a tremendous support for me going through this. Initially, prior to knowing that I had narcolepsy, there were a lot of hurt feelings and misunderstandings between us that came up from the symptoms I was experiencing. Even as our relationship matured and I was diagnosed, he still didn't fully grasp the extent of what I was going through, both emotionally and physically. And this changed on the day that he came to a follow-up appointment with me at the sleep center. I asked him to come with me. And when the doctor entered the room, he could feel the tension between us. And he actually spent the time to explain the severity of my symptoms based off of the findings of the sleep study. And went on to explain how the medications and naps were vital for me to be able to function at a semi-normal level. This moment really improved our relationship and our marriage, because then he understood that it was something that I really couldn't help and I can't help. So following that, like I said, I was diagnosed at age 34, and shortly after that, we decided to have a baby. So it was very hard as I made the choice with my sleep specialist and OBGYN to come off of all my narcolepsy medications. So I was very tired throughout this pregnancy and throughout the postpartum phase. It was very hard, but I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. That picture on the left-hand side is my husband's hand and our son, who is now 3.5, his hand, and they are both wearing our Narcolepsy Not Alone support bracelets. He now understands that I need to nap to be able to be the best wife and mother that I can. I still feel guilty for the times during the weekends when we're out on the boat having a great time, and suddenly I just have to lay down or have to get off the boat to come home and take a nap because that sleepiness hits me like a brick wall. On the right-hand side of the slide, that is me with my mom on my wedding day. She has been a tremendous support to me. She sees what I go through as a mom, as a full-time worker, and as a wife. And once she found out that I had narcolepsy, she has just been there for me. She's always been there for me, but even more so, knowing that I have this chronic condition, I can't thank her enough. So the future. I have found a new strength in my family. The picture on the left there, that is my husband, Ryan, and my son, Logan, and our dog, Pepper, on the golf cart. This is my life. This is my life with narcolepsy. I can't erase narcolepsy. So this is my normal. I have learned what my normal is, and I have learned to accept my normal. I don't need to know what anybody else's normal is anymore. Everyone has their own life experiences, and I'm going to make the most of mine. The picture on the right, that is not me, even though I would love to say that that's me. That is my husband, and he is wakeboarding. He has done that basically his whole life. I support him for what he loves to do, as he supports me. What you can't really see in that picture is that he's got 2 knee braces on while doing that flip, because he's had 2 ACL surgeries. And he knows that that trick is bad for his knees, but I support him as long as he wears his braces, and he supports me as long as I tell him when I need rest in order to be a better wife and a better mom. My current role, I'm an assistant professor at a PA program here in Tennessee, and I'm holding a sign in this picture for Narcolepsy Not Alone campaign with Project Sleep. And because of low awareness and misperceptions, there is an average of 8 to 15 years between symptom onset and narcolepsy diagnosis. I had a 10-year delay. The majority of people remain undiagnosed or misdiagnosed. Common misdiagnoses include depression, epilepsy, schizophrenia. To help raise awareness in the medical profession, I recently wrote a journal article for the Journal of American Academy of Physician Assistants, and the article is titled Narcolepsy, a Clinical Review. And this review actually allotted PAs continuing education credits toward their license recertification. I wanted to help spread the awareness of narcolepsy, not only to patients and people that are not diagnosed, but also to healthcare providers, to put it on their radar when they are, interviewing a patient who comes in with signs of narcolepsy, for them to be able to recognize those signs of narcolepsy and investigate it further. I am sharing, I went through that. I'm sharing my story today as part of the Rising Voices of Narcolepsy program of the nonprofit organization Project Sleep, which empowers patient care advocates to share their stories and improve public understanding of narcolepsy. I hope to utilize this experience to also better educate our future healthcare professionals on not just narcolepsy, but sleep disorders in general, and how vital sleep is to humans. I've never met anyone else with narcolepsy, so being a member of Rising Voices of Narcolepsy makes me feel less alone in my struggles, and is now a major part of my overall self treatment for narcolepsy. So thank you so much for listening to my story.
Yay! Great job, Diana.
Thank you.
I'm clapping on behalf of other people on Facebook.
Thank you.
Oh, you're a powerful storyteller, and I just feel so grateful to have you in our community for many reasons, but especially inspired by what you've been doing recently to raise awareness to the medical community. It's so, so, so needed, and we're just like so grateful. So folks, if you have questions for Diana, please send them into the comments on Facebook. I see that we have a few questions there, and I'm going to start with a few of my own questions first and then get to yours. So please send those over. So I was just curious about, I know when you said when you went to the sleep study, you were familiar with sleep, like the sleep study a little bit, so had you specifically learned about sleep disorders and like the symptoms when you were in PA school?
We did very, very briefly. So there's not a whole lot of time spent on sleep medicine in general. In the PA program that I was in, I don't know if that's changed since then, but I do feel based now on everything that I've learned just from doing research and having narcolepsy that so much more time needs to be spent on it, based on the effects that just overall sleep quality has on our lives and our health.
And so if you spent a brief amount of time, this is just something that always fascinates me, is that sometimes even the words that are in the symptom list, excessive daytime sleepiness, that you could have, in your case, you could have learned that term, and you could have been experiencing the sleepiness of narcolepsy, but might not have connected the two.
Absolutely. Because the first thing is like, okay, well, maybe you're just not getting enough sleep, or maybe you have hypothyroid, maybe you have an issue with your hormones or your thyroid, or it could be a million things, but for some reason sleep disorders in general just isn't on the radar.
Yeah, and that's too bad, because 1 in 5 Americans have a chronic sleep disorder. So it should definitely probably be more on the radar. Yeah,
Absolutely.
well, we have a lot of work to do in that area, but let's see. So then you talk about that you were originally in surgery, right? And now you're in academia. So could you describe like that transition a little bit more?
Yeah, so I had been working in orthopedic surgery at various practices, and and then I had my son as well, and so I had always had a passion for teaching. And when this opportunity came up, I not only saw it as an opportunity to teach others and be able to do that full time, but also being on call on nights and weekends, in some of the various um, positions that I've held, it was very, very difficult with narcolepsy. Before I was diagnosed, I just thought that this is what it felt like to be on call and be woken up every couple hours, getting a call from the ER or something. Like, the next day I was absolutely useless because I was just so sleep deprived. And come to find out that if I didn't have narcolepsy, I probably would have been able to handle that physically a little bit better. So it was definitely a good change to be able to go into the world of academia. Now that I know that I have narcolepsy, however, and I know that what I need to do as far as sleep routine, sleep hygiene, and also take medications, could I go back into the surgery realm? Absolutely. Now that I know what I have and I know how it affects me, that's half of the battle, really. Once you know what you have and what you have going on, then there is help out there. So.
Mhm. And I think I remember talking to you too a little bit about your ability to, you were diagnosed when you still were working in the surgery ward, right? Because I remember you said even like your ability to maybe even speak up a little bit, about having narcolepsy, it felt different in that role versus in academia.
Yeah. So of course, like I mentioned in the PowerPoint, that there's a lot of stigma with having the diagnosis of narcolepsy. All the movies that just make it look like someone just randomly falls asleep in the middle of something that they're doing. So I didn't really want to say much about it when I was working in surgery, because I didn't want people to think that I wasn't capable of doing my job, when really the day before I had that diagnosis and the day after, not nothing changed. I was still able to do my job. So, and I didn't want people to think that was something that could lead to me to not be able to be in surgery. Like I said, I don't have cataplexy, but of course, if I did have cataplexy and that was something that would have occurred in the OR, then definitely I would never want to put a patient at risk. But because I didn't have cataplexy, I was able to manage I was able to manage my symptoms with medications. That was fine. And there are people that have cataplexy that I'm sure can work in the operating room if they're being treated and their symptoms are being managed. So yeah, I think there's a lot of stigma around that, and I'm sure in other fields as well, people are scared to share that diagnosis because they're scared of the stigma that comes with it, and it's kind of disheartening.
Well, I'm just so glad that you like, it still obviously always takes courage to share one story. And I'm just really, really glad that, you've been able to, be able to do that now because it's just so, so, so important and really, really grateful for that. I was wondering if you had any advice for anyone that might want to become a physician assistant, um, or maybe even if they're thinking about transitioning into like an academic role, if you would give any advice to someone that's younger with narcolepsy.
Um, yeah, so I would say, as far as advice, you know, it's all going to depend. I think, like for people with narcolepsy, I think it's all just going to depend on your symptoms and your lifestyle. Um, I find that being passionate about learning and learning about medicine, I think that if I as long as I can keep my sleep routine, keep my sleep hygiene, make sure that I exercise. As long as I could do all the things possible, then I am doing everything in my power to be able to do what I want to do from a career standpoint. And I think that that's something that even students who are thinking about pursuing PA school is so intense. It is literally 27 months of 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and then going home to study. And, um, you know, we are sleep deprived as PA students. They are all sleep deprived. I don't care what anybody says. And to take one piece of advice for that, I would say utilize your free time to sleep, and because that ultimately is going to affect your brain in a positive way if you can sleep whenever you have the opportunity to.
Well, yes, hopefully we can still get people. I mean, I wonder too if there are any alternative. Is it always that intense, or are there programs that are part-time or not really?
I'm not aware of any programs that are part-time that I know of for the master's degree.
Wow, it's really intense. Let's see. So I have a few more questions, but let's get to some of the questions here on the broadcast too. So thank you guys again for tuning in. From Chelsea in Canada, we have Jill in Pennsylvania, Janetta's tuned in, Nicole in Minnesota. Um, and so let's see, Jill had a question. Do you feel like you could have had a different life without, I think without narcolepsy? And I'm trying to understand exactly what Jill means, but I think maybe that. Do you think that you would have had a different life without narcolepsy?
Um, I don't know if I'd had a different life, because I still did all of the things that I was planning on doing anyway. So I had already gotten into PA school when my symptoms had started. I managed to get through PA school. I landed a career, met my husband. So I don't think that it really would have changed my life.
Do you think maybe if you gotten diagnosed sooner, that would have been helpful? I'm wondering if that's what she might have meant.
I think, yeah, I think if I had gotten diagnosed sooner, I think that, um, I think if anything, it may have helped with social interaction. So, as far as being able to spend more time with my friends and family without having to leave early or go to sleep or avoid going to maybe long events because I knew that I was going to get tired in the middle of it. So, maybe just minor things like that, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah,
That's right about. And still, even with the diagnosis, I sometimes feel it's challenging.
it is. Yeah, it is.
Let's see. People are loving the hurricane season analogy. That's for sure. That is such a great analogy. And then let's see. I think we had one other question here from Jill. Also was wondering, what does normal feel like now compared to early on when you were affected? So I think maybe like if the treatments are helping somewhat.
So yeah, it definitely helps to have just to recognize that I know that if I get less than 7 hours of sleep, I'm going to feel a certain way the next day, and that's to me that's my normal. Is that I now expect it and know that that's going to happen, and I know why it's happening. Um, my my normal with treatment, yeah, I feel like I can focus better at work. I can be able to actually do more physical activity with my son and be outside with him and not feel completely, just wiped out. I feel like I can dedicate more time to my family here at home.
All right, so I have a few more questions. So tap dancing. So I didn't know this about the height limit of the Rockettes.
It was, yeah. I don't know if I think it still is because I looked it up not too long ago, but I think it's 5'6". I think you have to be like at least 5'6" or 5'7" to be a Rockette. Yeah. So
Have you ever, do you tap dance still at all or do any dance or?
so it's funny, but because when I was actually making this presentation and I was going back in my mind about the time that I tap danced, and I tap danced from the time I was 2.5 up until the end of high school. So I mean, I tap danced for a really long time, and my teachers were actually previous Rockettes. So I had we did state competitions and all that. So as I was making this PowerPoint, I saw that people on Facebook tap groups have tap boards that are made out of basically just like plywood and these foam things. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, man, that would be so cool to get back into that again. So I asked my husband, who's a real handyman, I was like, hey, can we go to Home Depot and you maybe pick up some of these boards? So he made me some tap boards, and I actually have been, dabbling in that. And it's like riding a bike. As soon as you put on the tap shoes and you're back on tap, like you go right at it. And I don't know if anybody see the opening ceremony of the Olympics, but tap dancing was like the center thing for one of the opening presentations. So I was like, oh, it's a sign.
Mhm. Oh my God, I love that. I mean, you should just be glad that I didn't know that going into this, because I would have probably tried to get a performance as part
Oh
of
yeah,
the
no.
podcast.
I'm not there yet.
All right. Well, I'll welcome you back at any point. I know there is another wonderful advocate this summer who's doing Rising Voices, who is also really into tap. And
Oh,
yeah, and on Instagram, her title is Zebra Feet. And she does a lot of tap dancing on Instagram.
Oh,
So
how funny.
yeah, there could be also some sort of a narcolepsy tap dance. I don't know, something.
Yeah, something like that.
Instead of the Rockettes, it could be like the Napettes. I don't know.
Nap-ets? Yeah, that's something. Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. And then I guess also like being a mom, I know you talked about like the medications, but now that your son is 3.5,
Yeah.
does it get increasingly interesting to think about like, have you shared like that you have narcolepsy? Does he seem to know that yet? Or do you feel like there'll be a time when those conversations might happen or?
I think there'll be a time when those conversations happen. He knows that, excuse me, like at night sometimes my husband will end up if it's a late night, my husband will be the one to end up to read to him to before he goes to sleep, and he kind of knows that daddy does that more than mommy does, but and then he also knows like when mommy has to take her medicine and this and that. So I mean, but I don't think he's old enough quite yet to understand narcolepsy, but we'll definitely have that conversation with him in the future.
All right. I had a really cute conversation with my niece. I want to say she might have been about 4, maybe 5 though. And was trying to explain a little bit. And I said, I have that condition. And she said, I think she might have said something like eucalyptus or something. And I was like, no,
Eucalyptus.
narcolepsy, kind of.
Yeah.
But
Aw.
it's been really fun to see. And then I love the picture with the bracelet, your son, the bracelet. And anytime, my niece gets interested in my little bracelet or something, it makes me feel supported. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's cool. And so one more question is, how did you find out about Project Sleep and Rising Voices? I remember corresponding with you before you did Rising Voices and advocacy, but I don't know if I remember how you found even Project Sleep.
So um, after I had had Logan, my son, I was going back and forth between medication, and I was really struggling on a daily basis to kind of just even function. I wanted to see if how common it was for other people to have narcolepsy, and also to see if they were having the same issues that I was having. Because, like I said, I never met anybody with it. So I just started Googling and going on Facebook and looking for support groups, and Project Sleep came up. And once I joined or liked that Facebook page, I then saw how many other people actually were active on that Facebook page. And it really interested me, and it made me want to reach out. And so when I saw the Rising Voices of Narcolepsy and looked into that, I felt like it was a good place for me to start, and to get to know people who also have narcolepsy. And it has been just kind of a lifesaver emotionally for me to know that, there are other people that have this, and it's okay that I have it.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I don't want to cry, but it's just
Yeah.
been really wonderful to have you part of this community. And I remember even emailing you before you did Rising Voices. You helped do some advocacy in Tennessee.
Oh yeah.
And, I just think that it's just really rewarding to get to watch a journey, even just part of it in your advocacy journey, and, speaking up and sharing your story more. So I know this won't be the last time that we'll
Yep.
be sharing parts of your story and your accomplishments in raising awareness. So just really, really grateful for you and all you're doing.
Oh, thank
I'm
you,
glad that you're
Julie.
part. And we got to change that. This whole you not having met anyone with narcolepsy in person yet.
I
I know there
know.
was a whole pandemic thing, but
I
we got to
know.
change that. So,
Yes,
yeah,
yes, I would like to be
yes. And we
closer.
were supposed to come to Nashville, Tennessee for a Project Sleep event during the during the
I
pandemic.
know, I was bummed.
I think we're going to be summer 2022.
Okay,
We'll
I'll be
be
here.
we'll be back in Tennessee. Well, we will come to Tennessee and have an event there.
Okay,
Um,
I'll be here.
Yay. All right. Well, I don't see any other questions online. Thank you guys again so much for tuning in. And thank you to Diana for sharing your story tonight.
Thank
And
you, Julie.
of course, and we will see you guys again soon. Have a good night.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.